Okay, I've already recorded this video. I hope you guys do enjoy it, but this is my top 10. I say this probably like 4 or 5 chapters in to the top 10. This is my top 10, and I know varying opinions can differ. So if you guys want to go into top 10, awesome. But this is my top 10. I hope you guys enjoy it. And we talk a lot. Sorry about this being long, but I really wanted to really talk about each chapter and break it down within the video of the top 10 of 2019. But I do hope you guys enjoy, and here it is. Hello YouTube, this is Mr. Crazy again. We're doing the top 10 One Piece chapters of 2019. And if you guys are hoping for last week's chapter, it probably came out a day before this. So, chapter 957. If you guys were hoping for that one, this is the second time recording this, 957 to be in this one. I'm counting next week because the official release isn't until January 5th or 6th. So I did do a review on it, but that is not counted for this year. So 956 will be 2020 when we get around to it. So I picked out 10, and I couldn't pick out 5 because there's so many good ones. And there's only two chapters within the backstory of O-Lin. The other ones are from throughout the year. And I didn't want to put more than 2 from the backstory because there's a lot and they could all be top 10. But these ones are out of the question. We're starting with number 10, which is chapter 950, The Soldier's Dream. I have them all popped up, or one popped up, and I'll go through and just talk a little bit about each one, why I picked top 10. And it got very hard after 7 through 10 got very hard to swap them out. There's a good chance that 7 through 10 are all about equally as good chapters. 10 is a good one because you see Kid and Killer, Captain Kid and Killer, walk out, and they're still ambiguous to the story. They could come back and help Luffy and them, but they say they are done with it. They're just looking for the rest of the crew and want to leave. Oda could write this in as them saying this but come back to help the Straw Hats and the Heart Pirates. But also, it's a great moment where the prisoners who have all been like kind of questioning the authority to all the people finally see Momonosuke, and they realize that this dream of this 20-year dream of the land coming back, or them coming forward and beating Kaido and Orochi, is not a dream anymore. It's actually physically possible with Momonosuke free and around. But not only that made that chapter is, if we go up probably a couple pages forward, you find out sorry, I cut there, but I had to mentally note this. So 10 years prior to them, so halfway through the 20-year gap, you find out all these graves on this hill where Ashura Joji and their clan has been living. There's a grave site, and you find out that 10 years into the 20 years, a bunch of samurai felt like if they waited the last 10 years that they would be too old to fight. So they all boarded boats and went off towards Kaido's island, and all of them died. So it really shows that Ashura Doji was still taken within their deaths and wanted to show Kinemon and Inarashi what happened here before actually proceeding. And that's why it's number 10. It's a really good one. We move on to number 9. Number 9 is 953. And we're going to be hopping all around. So 953, A Fox of a Single Disguise. And this makes number 9 because we get some of Kawamatsu's past, but also we find out that the bandit bridge that we've seen in previous chapters has secretly been this wolf in disguise. His name is in this chapter, so it's easier. Onimaru. And we find out that Onimaru and Kawamatsu all those years ago, it took a while for the fox to get used to Kawamatsu, but within that time, you find out that Kawamatsu and Onimaru started gathering these weapons, because up to this point we had questions about how would they get swords or stuff, because Kaido and them have the weaponry. They took all the weaponry from Wano. And you find out Kawamatsu and Onimaru were doing that until Kawamatsu got captured. But then Onimaru disguised himself as the bandit guard, the one we saw earlier taking the blades from Zoro and taking the Shusui. I'm naming that wrong. I'm sorry if I named that sword wrong. But he took the blades from Zoro, and he's been taking weapons from people that attacked the bridge. And you find out that after Kawamatsu was captured, that Onimaru was still gathering weapons for the cause. And we get the answer of where all the weapons are going to come from, because all the weapons are now still stored within this unsealed tomb that has thousands of weapons that they could all use within this final battle. Okay, that's number 9. Number 8. This is going to be a long video about me talking. We're only 2 chapters in, and we're already at 7 minutes and 50 seconds. Number 8 is the next chapter, 954. There's a big gap from 950 to 960. There's a lot in here that are in the top 10. So, sorry, but there's a lot of... This one is 954. And this is an incredible chapter in on itself. All these are incredible chapters by their lonesome. This makes number 8, chapter 954, Like a Dragon Growing Wings. I'll probably post a link to all the ones, not in order, or maybe in order. I'll put them in order from top 10 to number 1 in my reactions when I did the videos down below. And any extra videos I talk about within this. So if you guys want to go check them out, you can go check them out. All the links will be down below. So this is number 8, because we find out that if Zoro returns his sword to the grave, Hirori would give him Enma, which is one of O-Lin's 2 blades that he used. And if he went to Ryuma's grave and did that, but he says, okay, but could you at least bring me to the grave of Ryuma sometime in the future, which is still to be perceived. But then the best part of this chapter comes down to Law has Hawkins cut up into pieces, and they're talking about the lions and how it's all going down and all that. But it all comes down to this point where there's a lot of questions. Is Hawkins dead? Did he kill Hawkins? Is Hawkins dead? Because I don't think we see him from this point on. We don't see Hawkins again. That's very ambitious. We haven't seen Hawkins, but also we get the thing if letting me escape, and this is in the final panel of the page when he's walking out Law, and this is 6 days away until the raid. If letting me escape is your plan, then I'll happily join in. And we don't know, because this is such a big thing, and I stick with Tekken and them that Law is not a traitor, but this is the biggest moment here where Law could be the traitor. He could have switched sides now and been the now traitor to this. I think, if anything, he might be a double agent, but this is a big chapter for people saying that Law has been the traitor of the Alliance the entire time. It's been this moment that really put him out in the question. Carrot's the other big target, which I don't think it's either of them. I don't think we have a traitor, but that's beside the point. That's the big moment that why this made number 8. Other than there's small moments in here of them gathering weapons and bringing supplies around and changing the harbor location. Okay. Number 7. This is the farthest back I'll go for chapters, because it doesn't go any farther back than this, which is 942. Which, if we go back, this is Yasuie's death. A very memorable moment. Chapter 942, the Daimyo of Hakumai, Shimotsuki, Yasuie. And the greatest moment is the death, because we have slowly grown like attachment to this character that's been living in this poor town, given all he has to everybody around him. And we learn more past about him. We get some more O-Lin scenes with him blacking out. Now we could go back and fill in that O-Lin picture if we wanted to. But then, for him, during this death, to have Yasuie kind of tell that the tattoo was a joke upon Orochi, and it's Orochi just thinking that he's the only one thinking that this actually is true, trying to push to a point where everybody can stop believing this whole thing is coming true. But yeah, as it was all just a prank made by him to mess with Orochi, to save the 9 Red Chiefs. And all the prison guards start panicking because they realize what they're now holding prisoners for no reason. It's Orochi holding prisoners for nothing. And it really makes every prison guard now think that Orochi is out of his mind. Like, they already probably thought that, but now they have real big clue. But also brings everybody together for this point. But the biggest thing is him dying at the end. And we'll eventually get to this in the anime. And that's why it makes it number 7. And like I said, I don't think I said at the beginning, I'll probably put it back. This is my top 10. You guys can rate these any way you want. It was very hard for me to rate these in top 10 format. Okay, number 6, which is 955. Which, like I said, 6 through 10 is probably the hardest. Top 5 were even harder to just do. I had the 5, but doing the top 5, all of them were bad. Enma, number 6. Number 6 is chapter 955. I clicked on the wrong chapter. It is called Enma. And it's advance on Hiyori giving the blade to Enma to Zoro. and everybody finding out that she's still alive. All the 9 Red Chiefs that are here right now. You also find out who made the swords. Well, kind of. And who... We go back to the master that had the sword below, and he gets the sword back that Luffy took all that time ago. And you find out he's been a swordsmith too. And then we finally see the 2 swords together. We've been getting reference. And he's been holding these swords for the longest time for Hiyori and Momonosuke. We finally see Enma and how people keep talking to him and saying how Zoro shouldn't accept this blade. And we finally see Zoro's skill. We haven't seen it at full capacity yet, but he tries out the sword by cutting off a portion of the cliff, remodeling it. And then you see that his arm, the haki and strength, is being absorbed by the sword, and the sword is just hungry for the haki. And which is the greatest image. I can't wait for that to be in the anime. But you can see Zoro's will to fight back and get it back. He gets back all his haki from the sword. And we find out that if you're not strong enough, you could have been entirely evaporated out in one go. So that's why Enma was only wielded by O-Lin back in the day. He was the only person to wield it, but was never able to make it a black blade, which they refer to Zoro maybe eventually making it a black blade, which then makes it go up a level in grade. Which I believe that's probably something we're going to get at the very end of the series, him making that a black blade. But also, we get more talks about who's going to be at the raid, how many men, about 30,000 in total, on Onigashima, against the 4,000 they have right now. We also get them back over by the ships, Frankie and them making ships. You also see, I believe it's King Kong. Yeah, King Kong gun. And you see Luffy finally breaking through the giant, I believe the iron blocks or steel blocks, and finally learning the advanced version of armament haki. Yeah, armor haki. I want to make sure. That's what I thought for a second. Then you also see Zoro training Momonosuke and all that. So it's a really good chapter of everything come together. And all this before. And them being still saying that they still can't break out the prison house in the capital. If anything, Enma in its entirety is what makes this chapter so good. What make not only the little things in here, but even at the very end we see Pedro Carrot, Yasuie's daughter, I can't think of her name, all at the graves that they put up for Yasui and Pedro, new graves. We get that at the very end, but also just we find out not only who made some of the swords, who's been keeping the swords, how the swords work. Enma hasn't been black blade, and we also find out if it becomes a black blade, it increases in value. It's a really great chapter altogether. That's why it's number 6. Okay. Number 5 through 1, I'm going to say right now, was very, very hard for me to do. It was very hard for me to decide. Probably, actually, I say 5 through 2. 2 through 5. Number 1, I already had one picked out ever since the chapter released. I already knew it was going to be number 1. because it's something we wanted forever. You guys probably have already known, but this is where we're going to get in chapters, and people are going to argue about where this is on my top 10 scale. But like I said, I've thought this over hard. I've had this list for about a week or two, so I've been thinking about this ever since. Number 5 is chapter 943. Which is called Smile. 943 Smile for number 5. And this is a play on to Yasuie's death from the last chapter. We go through Yasuie's life and we see more moments from back then. And but the biggest thing about this, the two biggest things, is we find out what the smile fruit actually means in this chapter. The smile fruit that's been with us for like hundreds of chapters. The smile fruit, the artificial devil fruit. We finally find out why it's called the smile fruit and why everybody has been laughing at the death of Yasuie. All the people from the poor town. And you find out just why the smile fruit is such a devil's creation. And you find out the groups of the organization too. You find out the success rate of the artificial enhancement is 10%. So if you made a devil fruit with the ram power, the ram devil fruit, 1 out of 10 people would get the fruit. The other ones would get the negative effect of this artificial devil fruit, which they would not be able to swim. But due to the incomplete formula, I'm reading this right from the chapter, as a side effect, they also lose the ability to become sad or angry, which is the biggest thing in there. Which makes total sense on why all these people have been laughing, and they couldn't be sad or angry. They could only laugh at what happened, Yasuie dying in front of them. We find out the waiters are the three sections is waiters, pleasures, and gifters. Pleasures are the ones who were unfortunate and did not get the devil fruit power. The gifters are the ones that actually got the devil fruit power, and then the waiters are the ones waiting for more smile devil fruits to be up to then put in the other 2 tiers. And also you find out the smile was named to mock the unfortunate souls that got the side effects of never being angry or sad ever again, as calling it smiles. The 3 behind it, Kaido, Caesar, and Doflamingo, being the ones who created this awful fruit. And you just find out how the 4 poor people got it. Orochi was unpleasant with the lower class, so he snuck these fruits that have already been eaten, and even though it's already been eaten, it still holds the negative effects, and he put it into the trash for the leftovers. And so when they found it, they cut it up into pieces and spread it across to everybody to eat, which left them with which gave them the negative effect. Not only this chapter makes number 5, and it could have been lower, but there are even better chapters within the next 4 are even better. But this was a great wraparound of the Smile Devil Fruits in its entirety, and just how horrible Orochi is, and the people who made the smile, how bad it is. Not only that, but the other note I wrote down here to talk about is this is the first chapter since way back in Dressrosa. This is the first chapter that Sanji and Zoro have both been at the same place at the exact same like in the same panel. This is the first time they've met up since Dressrosa. And it's at the very end, but it's a really great note because they're both pissed at this point of hearing the story of the Smile Fruit and everything that has happened. Give me 1 second to take a drink before we move on to number 4. And this would have been lower, but I still have even better ones down here. So number 4 is chapter 965. Called the Kurozumi plot, which is in its entirety is Orochi's backstory. Also, this within O-Lin's past, this is also the birth of Momonosuke, and also them picking up Teach. So I believe he's 11 or 12 at this point in the story through the flashback, is Teach joining the crew, or Blackbeard. But also to find out how Orochi has been getting around and how he got his devil fruit. The Orochi devil fruit, whatever it is, it has the Orochi name within the devil fruit. And you find out how he got the devil fruit. You also find out that the person who's been kind of manipulating him, puppeteering him in the background was the original user of the clone fruit, I believe it's called. Give me a second, I'm going through this. I didn't write it down because I forgot that this was in here. Yeah, the clone fruit. But not only that she's been the original user. At some time in her life, and someone said this in a comment to this chapter a long time ago. And let me go back about 2 weeks. Is someone told me who this picture, this face of this person is, because I did not know any better back then. I would have not known if it wasn't for this person who mentioned this. I'm just trying to find it real quick. I don't think I'm gonna find it because I do a lot of videos. Let me actually go further up. But someone told me, I can't credit them because I just can't find it with all my posts, is that during this panel, when she's switching her faces back and forth, that's Gold Lion. Oh, not Gold Lion. Shiki the Lion. I'm bad at names, but Shiki the Lion, who was from the movie Strong World, which is right there in the background, Strong World poster. He was from that movie. But we have already known a tiny bit. So that means sometime in her past, she had to have touched the face of Shiki, which means she's been out of this country, which also makes sense how Devil Fruit got into it in the enclosed island, but also doesn't make sense how she got in. Because because it's such an enclosed off area, and to get to this island would be such a hassle. It was here it is. The person who said this was someone that goes by Twilight Abyss, and I thank him very much for this information because I would never have seen it. So not only Orochi's past, but we got some details of clone fruit and all this other like information packed into this one chapter. And we find out like why Orochi was stalking in the background when O-Lin went to visit his father, and all this other stuff. And that's why this one is number 4. Okay, I'm sorry about this video being so long, but let me jump into number 3. We're hitting the top 3. Top 3, which would be Luffy, or would be from 3 to 1, would be Zoro, Sanji, Luffy, or some people would say Sanji, Zoro, Luffy. I say Sanji is number 2 because I like Sanji, but that's a different discussion. Number 3 is the final chapter that I put in the flashbacks. That means there's 2 chapters that are not in O-Lin's flashback that is in number 2 and number 1. So this is you guys thinking, if you guys didn't look at the list below. Number 3 is chapter 966. That's next chapter. This is the Roger fight, where this is called Roger and Whitebeard. The final chapter of the year. It makes the list because we finally see Roger fight, and we have never seen Roger fight up to this moment. And we find out that he fights with a sword, but not only that he does fight with a sword. We've known that. We could have guessed that, but he does like a slash attack, and it's like a wave. It's not like he already has. I would assume that would be an advanced version of Armament Haki, because he sends the blade's energy through the air. But also the clash of Whitebeard and Roger. But from same Roger to O-Lin, his clash there, that Roger just one hit O-Lin, is such a great moment, because they, to this point, O-Lin was built up to be like this godly figure, and then to see him be just one swipe back to like 50 yards behind him in one hit from Roger just put Roger on a whole different scale to O-Lin, which definitely scales to the power. And we also find out that this battle on this island lasted 3 days and 3 nights between the Whitebeard pirates and the Roger pirates. And we finally find out that Roger actually was able to get to the final island, Road Star, 13 years ago. So 13 years ago he hit that final island, way before his fight with Rocks. Almost said Rockstar. Rocks the Zebux. And he talks about how he is sure there's one last island. One island before that, but they cannot get past there without reading, and they've already gotten one of the rope poneglyphs on the scroll. And he makes the plea to basically get O-Lin for his last journey this last year. And Whitebeard's expression within this chapter is such a great one, but you can see him like fully against it, but O-Lin wants to go on this voyage. But also you find that Roger is about to say, either I'll be the king of pirates or something else that cuts off. The other guess is, I want to be the freest man on this planet. Something along the lines of that would be the other idea people theorize. And then, even when O-Lin joins the crew, you have the Roger pirates giving up all their loot to the Whitebeard pirates. And then you have Pop saying that they have to leave the loot anyways because you want O-Lin to die on that crew, which is a great moment. And not only that, we find out at the very end, the Sky Island, it loops around to them. You find out how Roger put his message in the stone of the bell, the great bell of the Sky Island. How he wrote it onto that. It was actually O-Lin who wrote all the information down. And you find out that also he can feel the voice of the writing, like in small terms, like incredible power from the words, but he can't read it. He can only take like some basic words out of it and figure what it means, but cannot read it itself. And the reason how he could read and write it was because O-Lin was with his journey this entire time, which really brings O-Lin into this big spree of wrapping up all these conclusions that we had, or guesses that we had from way back in the day when we went to Sky Island and all this other stuff. It's a really great world building chapter on itself to even see Roger fight and all this other stuff. We're down to chapter number 2 out of top 10, which is 946. And you might be like, 946? That's an early chapter. What are you number 2 is 946? 946 is Queen versus O-Lin. But that's not why it's on this list. Queen versus O-Lin is a great moment here, where we're seeing them go full out. You can really see how Queen is no match for Yonko, even being at one of the tiers below Kaido, not being able to stand up to Big Mom. How that Big Mom can just whoop his ass, and he's a 1.3 billion berry bounty. We also find out that Kawamatsu, I don't think we find out his name now, I think it's the next chapter. We found out that Cage that we've been seeing, this mysterious figure, has been broken free. We also find out about boss pond snails. Basically, we've been seeing these transponded snails without this arc. Basically, there's a big boss snail that relays. There's all over Wano, and you can use the small snails to relay in. But without the big snail, you can't use it. You can only use it short range. So we find more information about that. I'm really dragging this on. AI. But then we get the great moment here of Big Mom, like, open the jar and find out none of the food there, and then Luffy saying, "Oh yeah, I ate it. It was really good. I ate all that. It was really good." And they're like, everybody's like, so surprised at this. Like, why would you say that? And Luffy said, "Did I say that out loud?" Like, not realizing. And we solely see her. And this was such a great chapter, not only because she starts destroying the arena, but we find out previous chapter that they were in a collar that if they step out of the arena, it will explode or cut off the necks. It was either or. And we find her destroying the arena. So if they fall out of the arena, they're done for. And up to this point, they've been talking about the advanced version of Armor and Haki as Luffy was trying to learn it. But then we get this great moment, which not only, I don't think they show it in this chapter. That's why honorable mention would be the next one. Just the beginning of the next one. Is Luffy pulling the collars off both him and the old man. Like pulling both of them off and ripping them like Rayleigh did back on Sabaody all those chapters ago. I hate this camera. The camera just keeps unfocusing because my hand gets in the way But then we see them stand off as the old man doesn't want to move and is forcing Luffy to try to do the same thing he just did to the collars again, but to Big Mom. It's such a great chapter because we finally see Luffy capable of doing it. He does something Rayleigh did so many chapters ago, and we see just the force it could do. He could summon. If I did honorable mention, like I said, it would be 947. I believe this one was called Queen's Gamble. Just because it shows the flashback of Rayleigh doing the same thing. And we find out how he did it. Is he crushed it just like Luffy did this last chapter. That's the only reason why it would be honorable mention. Because of that flashback moment. Now to number one. You guys probably already guessed it or seen the list down below. Number one, top 10. Number one is 957. Let's get to this last one. This is going to be talking a bunch about this one. This one was called, whenever it starts, Ultimate. And this is mostly to do with the world government at New Marine Ford, which we don't see a lot. And we start off by them talking about Fujitora and the lava dude. I can't think of his name, and that's really bad. The Fleet Admiral. Talking about how Big Mom and Kaido could be joining forces. We already know that's a thing. And they talk about Rock's second coming. We've heard mention of Rock's previous words, but to get this chapter was such a great turnaround. And then they find out they have joined forces. But then we see, I'm gonna look up his name because I love this dude. This is also Sakazuki was the person, the Fleet Admiral. But the person before Sakazuki as a Fleet Admiral was Sengoku. You see old Sengoku, which is an awesome sight as it is. He starts talking to the new Marines that wouldn't know the story. And he talks about how for many years they were like cat and dog. So this is not a big surprise to them for them coming back together. But then we find out this ship that Rocks, we've heard this name before. We find out that it was the ship before Roger's crew. The ship that ran the New World. And it consisted of Rocks the leader, Rocks D. Zebix, which is a mention to Zebix, which we have heard before because it's Blackbeard's ship name, which that's a whole nother story on itself that I want to do in a different video, a theory video. But we find out Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido were all on that crew under Rocks. And the Golden Lion, Silver Axe, Captain John and Wang Zi are all they were all big names too under that. We know Golden Lion, we know Captain John. Silver Axe and Wang Zi, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe Silver Axe we've heard, but it's such a surprise to them to find out there was a crew that had all these amazing strong pirates under one crew. And the captain aimed to be the Pirate King way back in the day. And that their crew was such a horrible crew that even Rock's name has been erased from the history books. That only the old know about Rock's existence. And then you find out how Garp got his name. How he is the hero of the Marines. You find out in this, you also find out how he got the name Hero to his name, which has been lingering throughout the entire One Piece manga and anime. You find out that on this island called God Valley, that he teamed up with Roger to protect the people there and celestial dragons to defeat Rocks. They teamed up to defeat Rocks, which is entirely to the story that I would love to see Oda do eventually in the future. We might not get anything of it, but to see that fight would be incredible. But the greatest point there is he had to team up to beat Rocks. And you find out that he doesn't like the hero title because he had to team up with Goldie Roger, the pirate. He had to team up with it, but also he had to protect celestial dragons. At this point, we find out that even Garp hates the celestial dragons. That's why he never wanted to become an admiral, because he would be right under the thumbs of the celestial dragons. That's the one big reason of him never becoming an admiral. So to this point now, we could probably state his power level probably as the same as Admiral Garp. I could probably state that, but back in his better days, in his youth. And we find out the God Valley incident, it was called, like everything else, was erased. Even God Valley as an island was erased from all maps. So finding God Valley now would be almost nearly impossible unless you found someone who had it. And you find out also here that, where is it? That we find out the full name. I already mentioned it at this point, but we find out his full name is Roxy Zebix, which, like I said, Zebix refers to Blackbeard's ship, which could still be a whole theory in itself. And I'm sorry about bringing this. We also find out that he's another bearer of the name D. While it's true that Big Mom and Kaido were once part of the same crew, they are far stronger now than they were 38 years ago. Exactly like Sengoku said. They're a lot stronger than they are now, even back in the prime day, which is an incredible statement because back then you would imagine them being incredibly strong. And then we finally get the bounties. The bounties that we've been waiting and guessing at for years and years. I never did a theory on it, just because I never thought the point of guessing at something I would not know. We first start off with Blackbeard, the smallest of the Yonko, with a 2.2 billion berry bounty. Then we go to Red Hair Shanks, which has a 4.0 billion berry bounty. Then we go to Big Mom, which is only higher than Shanks by 300 million. And then we go to Kaido's. We finally find out Kaido's too, which is 4.6 billion. And they could have ended it there, because we got all 4 of the present Yonko's bounties. But then we get to horror surprise. Oda gives us this gift, this extremely early Christmas gift of Edward Newgate's bounty, Whitebeard's bounty, and Roger's bounty, the king of the pirates. And Whitebeard's being 5.0 billion berry bounty, and Roger's being 5.5 billion. So you could see Whitebeard was the closest to getting that bounty. But also they state that if Big Mom and Kaido do join forces, their bounties combined would be far past Roger or Whitebeard at this point. And this is such... And they also talk about... They talk about someone called O-Lin, which we've been teased throughout the entire manga of Wano up to this point, about how he even went along with the Pirate King's last voyage. And then Sengoku even questions, why are there so many powerful individuals connected to Wano? Like, it's such a big conspiracy to them. The bounties make it incredible on itself. It would have been in the top 5 if we only got the bounties. But then to find out why Garp is called the hero of the Marines made it even higher. And then to add on that, we got the pirate group's name before Rogers. Rocks D. Zebix. Which Zebix, like I said, already transpires to Blackbeard's ship, which is in its own right, own theory video that will come out eventually on this channel, because I've been trying to pick up theories and do theories on my own. There will be a theory probably next week for you guys, or sometime during this week. Don't know. There will be a theory though. We do my own custom one, just talking about Devil Fruits and a person on the crew of Luffy's crew. But then we also find out about this mystery island, God Valley. And in my theory, and I'll put this at the very bottom as theory, talking about final chapter, talking about number 1 chapter, theory on final poneglyph. I talk about it that if the final poneglyph is such a hidden thing within the community and no one has found it, it would make sense God Valley would have the poneglyph, only because it's an island erased from all maps. So only the select few would know well enough to get there and get that information. Oh. Otherwise, that is the top 10 One Piece chapters. If you guys differ or have any opinions on these 10 chapters or what you would pick, please comment down below. If you guys like these chapters or anything below, I said links down below for the top 10 and probably the honorable mention and the theory will all be linked down below. I'll eventually probably go watch Roger's base top 10 because he did a top 10. I'm sorry for this being so long, but like I said, we need to talk about a lot with the top 10. That is my top 10 for 2019. Top 10 One Piece chapters. And like I said, it took me a long time to go through these and pick these out. Like I said, I didn't want any more than 2 from the flashback. And like I said, 967 came out, but official release isn't until January, so that doesn't even count for me. Otherwise, that will probably make it on the top 10 with what we got from that chapter. Definitely will probably make it on top 10 for 2020, unless we get even better. And I don't expect anything less from Oda at this point. Like, Oda even put out a memo talking about how he has to be very careful with his writing within these manga chapters to not spill the beans on every secret in One Piece. Like, it would be so easy for him to put in what the D name means, the will of D means, and all that, and all this crazy stuff. But if you guys did like the video, give a like. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, I recommend subscribe to the channel. Keep up content. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll be doing another giveaway, $25 gift card giveaway. I might make it 2, actually, 2 gift card giveaways on 1,000, because it's a big number that we've been aiming for a while. And thank you for all the support I've gotten to this point. Thank you guys so much for that. And just hopefully we'll see what 2020 gives us for One Piece chapters. We're very close to the end of the series, as confirmed by multiple sources this time, to be about 5 years away. So that is just crazy to think. Otherwise, one final thing. If you guys have any suggestions on theories or other things I've talked about during this video, or anything down below that you would want me to take a look into or talk about, I'll give credit where credit is due with theories, who did them, but there's our theories I do want to jump back into and do my own video about talking about what I think of it. Otherwise, this was my top 10 chapters of 2019 of One Piece. Otherwise, have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good night, wherever you are. Just have a good day. Hopefully I see you guys next video, and peace.